Welcome to another episode of Bringing Down the Grindhouse, a podcast where we discuss horror in media. And today we're going to be discussing Re-Animator and The Return of the Living Dead. I'm Mitch.
I'm Murr.
And I'm Jonathan. And today we have a special guest, Luis Diaz.
That is I.
Thanks to everybody, for all of you, for joining us remotely, because we're still continuing to be on lockdown for the quarantine.
Quarantined and going insane.
Yeah, I feel like people are starting to get some cabin fever and do not want to stay in their house anymore.
I'm growing a beard in protest.
At this point, it seems like everyone's picking up like fucking Animal Crossing or like crocheting or something.
Making masks.
Stardew Valley for me, man.
Hell yeah.
Very peaceful.
I'm playing The Sims 4 still.
Nice.
Playing a good amount of Dead by Daylight, so that's what's been going on.
Getting ready for the dead future.
The Return of the Living Dead.
Tell me more about it, Murr.
Movies, Murr. who picked this list?
I'm pretty sure Murr was this week's pick.
Yeah. I wanted to pick two zombie movies. I didn't realize they were both released in 85 at the same time.
This is the fifth or sixth time we've done this. We've chosen two movies without thinking about it, and they're on the same year.
Yeah.
So it just means we're good at matching shit up. We know what's similar.
So I wanted them to be zombie movies. I wanted them to be in the 80s, obviously. And I just wanted them to be not your typical zombie movie. I wanted them to be a little bit out there.
Yeah,
so
they're definitely different.
Yeah. So The Return of the Living Dead, right?
Right.
That was released in 1985, I believe, in the summer of 85, and it was directed by Dan O'Bannon. And we've talked about Dan O'Bannon a little bit before. Just to give you a little refresher, he helped co-write Dark Star with John Carpenter when John Carpenter was a film student. And he also wrote the entire screenplay for Aliens.
Yes, that's the same dude.
Small-ass movie, that made no money. I mean...
Nice.
Right. But the story was really written by Rudy Reese. Yeah, he wrote and directed the movie. The original story was written by Rudy Reese and John A. Russo.
Yes.
They both wrote and co-starred within Night of the Living Dead.
Nice.
And then Russo would retain the rights for The Living Dead and would make his own series, while George Romero would make the Dead series.
Right.
So Dawn of the Dead, Day of the Dead.
Way more serious.
Yeah, way more serious and way more just a lot more budget.
Yeah. Oh yeah, he talked to the right people.
Yeah, George Romero had the hookups. I mean, he made the zombie.
Yeah. He popularized the idea.
So Russo made a novel titled The Living Dead, which was a continuation from Night of the Living Dead from Romero, but it was more about a religious kind of story with several cults around the United States living in a post-zombie apocalyptic world. And he described it as like people would have funerals and they would have their services, and as soon as they were done, the caretaker or like the father of a child would have to spike their head directly to stop resurrection. And so it was a really cold open for a lot of the novels, and the novel is pretty interesting for sure. But when they wanted to make the movie, they didn't want to use the original screenplay, so they reached out to Dan O'Bannon, sorry, not Brian, and he picked up the work, but only if he could rework the entire story and make something that no one has ever seen before.
Do we know why him and Romero kind of like went their separate ways? Did they have just different visions for it?
They never really specified. They just kind of just split away from their thing. They have no beef also. Everyone thought that there was some beef, but up until George Romero's death.
They wanted to make their own shit.
They said that, up until Romero died, that they were still friends, and that if he wanted to, he could give him a phone call and just chat it up with him at any moment.
Nice.
So, But yeah, so this movie has a weird thing where the it's hard to explain. The movie itself, a lot of the cast and crew are very proud of the movie because they made something very original.
Right.
And also the story of how they made the movie is very interesting because working with Dan O'Bannon and several other people, it was pretty interesting to get just the right shots and the right story to work for this. Originally, the movie itself wasn't going to be made. Uh, Someone in Orion Pictures was holding the flag for them and being like, "Hey, I really want to make Return of the Living Dead happen." And they were talking to them. They're like, "Dude, horror's dead. Like, horror isn't gonna go anywhere." And at that time, like, obviously you're fucking wrong. You just had The Shining in 1980s win an Oscar.
Right.
Like, you have the slasher movement slowly coming up.
It's a good time to make it.
So here was the thing with the guy from Orion who was fighting for the rights. He was basically saying, you don't realize that when you fight for these movies, that they're going to be made and released within like a year or two. And so it might not be the hot shit right now, but that doesn't mean it won't be the hot shit next year or the year after.
Right.
So he had very little support. So that's why they had to reach out to a guy reached out to them named Tom Fox, and he was a banker originally, and he just wanted to get his start in Hollywood. So he would always financially support the movie being made. And basically they would just come to this guy and be like, "Hey, we need $4,000 for the shot." "Okay, here you go. Take the check to the bank." "Hey, we need $10,000 for fake fucking blood." "All right, cool. Here you go." And eventually it just worked. So the budget for the movie was $4 million. And how much did it gross?
14 million.
So they showed those people in Hollywood, they showed them the fuck up.
Nearly tripled their money.
Yeah, exactly. So that was really great. So we have William Stout, an illustrator for a lot of the old school horror comics, tech producer as the main tech producer on this, and he would help pave the way to write the storyboard. It was very similar to how they made Alien because they made the storyboards first. Just how they did with H.R. Giger. Do you remember that?
Yeah.
They basically fleshed out the entire
It's not common practice to do storyboards on every single movie that's made, but people who want to make a movie that looks a specific way will usually do storyboards so people have a better idea of what they're going for. So for something like this, I could easily see someone making storyboards for Night of the Living Dead because it's stylized all the way through.
Yeah.
I mean, the movie Night of the Living Dead feels really comic booky to me too.
Oh, totally.
I mean, Night of the Living Dead. I mean, I've seen the '68 version of it, but Return of the Living Dead is very comic booky, is what I mean to say.
Yeah.
I don't know. It was really different, and like the fact that this movie was one of the first movies where zombies ever said the term like eating, like I'm gonna eat your brains, or I want to eat brains. Like zombies never actually did that. They never did that before any other one. So it like instilled like a brand new like what's the word, like mythology about the creature.
Oh yeah, they both did. O'Bannon and Romero created the sort of rules and outlines that most of their films would follow after that.
The funniest thing about researching these films for the podcast was I was looking at several references for the movie.
Yeah.
References to other movies and references from this movie. And that was the funniest shit ever. I was just like, wow, this movie is referenced in a lot of media. And I was like, wait.
Oh,
it's just Bert? The fact that they eat brains. Okay, that's what I'm getting here. Basically, this movie was the fucking success, like the grandfather of brains.
Yeah. It's the first time on screen that you hear that, right?
It's the first time you see zombies talk, like Mitch said, as well as run.
Yeah,
walking, running, all that stuff. Yeah, it was the first time that ever was seen.
Up until then, they were just shambling corpses.
Yeah, dude, these zombies were setting traps.
Yeah, that shit was funny as fuck.
Oh my god, it was so hilarious, man. This movie dealt with humor in like a very different way from a lot of your horror comedies that exist.
It was kind of outrageous.
Yeah.
O'Bannon wanted the comedy to work with the horror really well, and I think they did a great job because the line delivery on some of these things are so funny. The first time you watch Return of the Living Dead and you see the zombie go into the ambulance and say, "Send more paramedics," you're just like, this is fucking amazing.
Brains. Oh, look, more brains.
Yeah,
Oh,
exactly.
more brains. Like just like accents of personality and things like that,
I
showing
thought it was
emotion.
I thought it was really funny how they also like reference Night of the Living Dead super hard in this movie, and like
Yes.
they continue that
Well, they
mythology.
say
They're like,
it. They're like, what do they do
yeah,
in the movie?
what do they do in the movies? They cut the brain, they hit it in the head. Okay, and then they go and they
Yeah.
saw off his brain, or they like hit his head
They
super
like
hard. They spike him.
dismembered it.
Yeah, they spike him real hard, and they're like,
Yeah.
"It didn't work. You mean the movie's lied?" Like,
That's one of the funniest lines in the film, where it's like, did you mean the movie lied? And it's just really funny because they were expecting. So it's great because it gets rid of all of the tropes that you see in zombie films, which is that you have to take the head off. You don't have to worry about like other thing, like it's still moving after that. They cut it into pieces, and every part was still moving.
Yeah, exactly.
They also give a reason too for why they eat brains. Supposedly, if they eat brains, it gets rid of their pain of being dead. So apparently, being dead hurts.
yeah,
brain to them.
Ultimately rotting.
Yeah.
Don Calfa, or Ernie's character, the guy who owns the morgue. Everyone wants to like just kill these zombies, but he wants to sit down and actually talk to it and see what the fuck is going on with them. And he straps it to a table and he just talks to it, which is super interesting. You can see spinal fluid coming out and everything. It's just all crazy.
Do they use like an animatronic or some shit, or do they put someone's head through the table? Like, how do they do that?
They did a lot of stuff, so I'm glad you brought that up because Tony Gardner, very young person, I'd say he was in his 20s.
Yeah.
Kind of like similar to what fucking Rob Batista was for the Thing.
Yeah.
Basically, he did a lot of the special effects. He did mainly the half-cut dog in the beginning of the opening, and he did that scene, and then he also did the half corpse that comes out and eats Scuzz's brain, and then they strap it to the table. So the funny thing was they were saying that when they were using it, the animatronic that was eating Scuzz's brain and hitting the bladder that's produced the fake blood, it got fucking destroyed as soon as Scuzz hit the floor and like was dying. Essentially the entire thing broke and the tripod got fucked up, but they got the shot. So, and then eventually when they got to the table, it was an animatronic, and they had to, I mean, that spine wiggles. I mean, you see that,
Yeah,
right?
yeah. It's pretty detailed. It doesn't seem clunky or kind of off. It has pretty fluid movement whenever you're seeing them. And then obviously the rest of the zombies were just people in makeup, and they didn't tell them to like shamble or anything. They were just doing full sprints.
Yeah, just fucking go at it, man. And they kill people, man. You see them eat like whole faces and heads, and super fun. A really fun fact though, the guy who played Scuzz that just got eaten the scene prior did the voice for the woman zombie.
Which one was Scuzz?
So Scuzz was the one with the mohawk,
The long trench coat.
In the long trench coat.
Yeah. Okay.
We should probably go over cast real quick. At the helm for the old guy league.
Yeah, for real.
We got Clu Gallagher as Bert, James Karen as Frank, and Don Calfa as Ernie.
Fucking Bert and Ernie.
Yeah, so it is a Sesame Street reference.
Yeah, I wonder if they were doing that because of the people who helped them.
Right.
Because they were involved with like the puppeteering and other shit like that.
Exactly. I mean, like, puppeteering is a very respected thing in the
man,
movie
you have
industry.
a surprising amount of respect for people who are doing shit like that amongst like all of your peers in the film industry, which is pretty interesting.
Yeah, for real. And I mean, even so, the guy that plays Tarman,
right?
The decaying, disgusting, shambling jelly zombies. Like I love that thing. It's awesome. It was portrayed by actor and puppeteer Alan Troutman, who also worked with Jim Henson on Muppet projects.
Yo.
Didn't
Really
do the
spreading
Dark
out his
Crystal
work
though.
there.
Didn't do
What?
the Dark Crystal. Didn't do the Dark Crystal though. But he did a lot of Muppet stuff. So, a lot of people like to say that Tarman is the most famous zombie from a movie.
He's got to be.
And, I mean, like, have you ever thought of a different zombie that was famous? Like, really think about that.
No, I do.
The only one I think of.
The Crypt Keeper.
He's not
Crypt
really
Keeper,
a zombie.
Kind of is.
I don't know what he is. They never really
Well, I guess he's a
specify.
ghoul.
He's just like a dead. Well, actually, no. Is he dead? I don't know. I think he's just really old.
He's undead.
The only one I could think of was what was his name? Was it Bono or Bozo from Day of the Dead? The actual like zombie that listens to classical music in Day of the Dead.
Oh, dude, I forgot about that.
But yeah, so when Tarman enters the scene, like he is basically covered in drip vinyl and aluminum and jelly, and like they put him in effects for like 3 to 4 hours, and then the first time that he comes out, that was the first time any of the actors saw him.
Oh, fuck.
Like they didn't realize what the zombie was gonna look like, so their reactions are pretty fucking real.
They're like, oh, fucking shit.
What the fuck is that?
They're
thing,
actually
you know?
in a zombie movie for once.
And then we have to go over the kids because the teenagers play a big role in this
whole
movie.
punk squad
of fucking cool kids.
Just a bunch of degenerates.
We got Tom Matthews as Freddy, the cap wearing new kid at the fucking medical supply center. We got Beverly Rudolph as Tina, his loving girlfriend who wears super fly white pants. John Philbin plays Chuck, the really poser-looking guy in a suit and fucking checkered
The guy
gowns.
that's like, what the guy that goes like, I don't think anyone understands me.
No, that's a different dude.
What?
Chuck is the guy who's just like, I like sex and death. Do you like sex and death?
Oh,
like,
that guy, that fucking guy. Okay, no,
he's like the blonde dude.
Yeah.
Jewel Shepard is Casey. She plays the blue hair, or like that poofed up girl in the blue dress.
Yeah.
We've got Miguel Nunez Jr. as Spider. He is the African American with the giant hair and the fucking best lines in the movie, in all honesty.
He was great. I loved his character.
I liked him a lot because he was just like, nah, you crazy white girl. I don't want to fucking die, man.
Yeah, I'm not doing this shit.
And that was super funny because she was usually talking to Trash, which was portrayed by Linnea Quigley, who got naked pretty much for the majority of the movie.
Scene. Full frontal.
And that move for the company was like super hard for them to deal with.
Yo, it's fucking porn. Like, how are they supposed to clear that with the rating system?
Oh, it was glorious. It was so amazing. That whole scene's amazing. Just like in the graveyard, just hopping all over the place, and I'm just like, and there's that one like, it's really cheesy like 80s rock or something along those lines that's playing, and I don't know, I love it. It was great.
So that entire tombstone dancing scene, which was also improvised, by the way.
How do you even? So she just started dancing. Like, how did they improvise that?
Well, they were like, you should get up there and dance, and then she was like, I don't know how I'm gonna do this, but I did it. Basically, it broke a ton of rules. They shot it full nude at first, like full on nude, nothing crazy. But then the corporate came in. They're like, dude, she's literally fucking naked. I could see full bush here. No. So they're like, all right, take her to makeup and shave her. So then they shaved her, and the corporate came out again. They're like, this is fucking worse. What the fuck?
Wait, what would the, how, okay, wait, no, I have to talk about that. How the fuck do they think just shaving off pubic hair was going to change anything about that scene?
I don't know. They just thought that it would they just thought it would work and then it'd fly. Oh, okay, so the pubic hair was obviously the problem, so let's just shave it off.
That's fucking stupid, but okay.
So eventually they had to make a prosthetic plug for her.
What?
She had to get a mold of her vagina, and they plugged her up, and then
Oh,
basically, I mean, to this day, you can't see anything.
Yo, this poor girl. She had to fucking like put something up in there so they can't see like detail.
She said it was cool. She said it was fine. She was like, "Yeah, whatever has to make the shot happen."
That's
You know?
wild. What the fuck?
So basically, at the meeting table, like after they debuted the film to the, corporate, there's like one guy stood up, folded, like he like took out his papers and was like, "We believe that your film is one step above pornography."
I mean,
and then just sat right back down.
He's right.
Yeah.
It was amazing, though.
Yeah, I mean, it's really fun. The little road flares, how they're just dancing around with them.
I don't know. I just thought it was a cool scene in general. It was really ridiculous.
Yeah, it was pretty.
Yeah, I mean, it works. It works for Trash's character because she's obsessed with death. And just being all
so I'm glad you brought that up because I was wondering about her character. I didn't fully understand what they were trying to do with her character because she mentions like, "Hey, have you ever thought about like dying? Like, what do you think about death?" And then like explains this scene of where she would like get eaten and it's almost a sexual moment, but then she actually gets eaten and it's terrifying and you're like, what? Why did they go this direction with this? Or at least I was wondering.
She comes back though, then she's reanimated again.
Yeah, but like they don't show her again.
No, they do. They do. She comes back from being dead as like a super sexy.
Well, that's what I'm saying. They show this like the zombified version of her, and then what happens after that? Like, was that it?
This movie leaves a lot to the imagination in some areas for sure. But yeah, I mean, like she is just like she has that epic intro where she just walks up and just fucking chomps on the homeless dude. She's like just like coming in. And he's like, "Oh, it's a chick." And it's like, "Oh, it's a naked chick. Whoa." And then she just fucking goes for the chomp. Oh. And it's so fucking crazy.
I thought you were talking about when she first appears and then like rips open her shirt. And I was like, what the fuck is happening?
I don't know. For me, I felt like she was just a Scorpio.
Okay. Jesus Christ. Anyway.
I don't know, man.
I always make Mitch mad when I say that shit. I'm sorry.
I didn't know how to feel about the movie because for me, just watching a bunch of films, taking a bunch of classes, like it was sexist and like kind of problematic. But I mean, if the actor was cool with it and she says so, then maybe it wasn't so bad for her. But it was still like the movie could have had that entire part cut out, and I would have still loved the movie.
Yeah, I mean, it's just that's one of those scenes that sticks with you from Return of the Living Dead.
Well, plus it's the 80s. Like, they wanted to show people naked all the time.
Yeah, I mean, you don't have blood and boobs in your movie, you're not making money, you know what I mean? That's how it was in the 80s.
I was like, yeah, maybe from like the early 80s.
But continuing with the cast, we got two more. We got Brian Peck as Scuzz, who would later create the documentary The Return to the Living Dead, in which he talks about all this fucking crazy shit that goes down. And then Suicide, Mark Venturini, who is the fucking buff-ass dude with the giant chains and fucking piercings all over him. Dude was ripped.
That guy was hilarious because the girl, what was it? Who was the girl?
Trash.
She was like on him like, hey, like you're awesome, like you're sexy, and he's like, no, you guys don't understand, like this isn't a costume, like this punk lifestyle is like real. And then she's like, have some fucking respect, and like throws her off. And it's so fucking funny.
Respect for the dead.
That was great. I was like, what? There was this guy trying to tell you about his serious punk lifestyle who was like, have some fucking respect for the dead.
That shit was great.
Totally unexpected. Was not expecting to be like, what the hell? Like, get off me. So
yeah,
that was funny.
I don't know.
I enjoyed
it. Like this group of kids is really different, and they portray so differently from the adults. I mean,
right.
I mean, my favorite character in the movie is Ernie, Don Calfa, who actually is named after a German war criminal, which I found out.
Yikes.
I mean, he even has the Walter the golden Walter P-38 in the movie.
Yeah, for
And
real.
when it's raining super hard, he's like, it's raining like a
He
something.
says
something.
it in German.
Yeah. Yeah. So although Don Calfa is Jewish, I mean, he was cool with, portraying a super German dude. Don Calfa played Ernie.
Yeah, Ernie's the guy that cleans the bodies and whatnot.
Right.
Yeah, the guy that works down at the morgue.
Yeah. All right. I like that character too.
Yeah.
That's it. He's great.
He has those eyes, eyes that just hit it.
I just found out that he passed away actually.
Oh, rest in peace.
December 1st, 2016, about 4 years ago.
Oh.
Dang.
I did not know this.
Well, now you do, and I'm here to break your heart.
So, just got a little bit more of trivia, then we can go into like some more general plot points and what you guys thought about it. Basically, it was very hard to work with O'Bannon on this movie. Beverly Rudolph, who played Tina, stated that working with him was super hard and mentally abusive because of the rain scenes. Simply because they were using ice cold water, like ice water, for the rain.
So I was wondering about that. So normally in films, you can tell that it's warm water because like it's either steaming or there's like this sort of fogginess coming off of it because they're using hot water. But in this case, there was none of that. So I was like, they must be in really cold water and she's butt ass naked. So like, what are you like? That must have been really uncomfortable for however many takes they had.
Well, she got it the worst. Linnea Quigley, who was trash, she had it pretty hard, but not as hard as Tina. She admits because Tina had to do the scene where she would fall face first into the puddle.
Yeah, that's right.
So they did the shot over 30 times.
Fuck.
And you know how she gets picked up by Spider and that other dude, right?
Yeah.
She literally could not get up. She had to be picked up by them. That was an actual physical moment. She could not get up.
Oh my god.
Because her body was just shut down from how cold she was.
Yeah, dude.
And then she gets fucked up with the stairs as well.
Oh, running up and down the stairs?
Yeah, because they have the continuity thing from the Night of the Living Dead where the third step on the stairs is broken.
Right.
So she actually had to break through that, and she was just covered in blue bruises for like a good week of shooting.
Yeah, I could see that happening. And of course something happened with it because they mention it like right at the beginning where it's like, oh, watch the third stair.
Right.
It was so obvious that something was going to happen with that later in the film.
It is a good scene of foreshadowing.
Yeah.
So last bit of trivia, I just found out that Tom Fox, the producer, was really hyped about all the zombie extras in the movie when he was watching the film being made, and he wanted his kids and a wife within the movie as zombie extras. And he went to O'Bannon and was like, "Look, man, I want my kids and wife in this movie. I'm not gonna take no for an answer. If you're gonna say no, I'm gonna quit funding." And so O'Bannon was just like, "Yeah, okay, bring your kids and your family. Tell them to be here at 5 a.m. They go to 5 a.m. and he goes to the makeup artist and says, "I want you to put the itchiest, most fucking annoying makeup on these people's faces." And then proceeds to do a 10-hour makeup session for his family members. And the kids are hating it. The wife is just miserable. And then by the time they're getting ready to do the shot, they cut the day. They're like, "All right, cutting's over. We're not going to film no more. If you want, you could come back tomorrow and we'll do the shot again." And needless to say, the family did not return.
Well, yeah, when you make it that fucking difficult to film, that's a good way to get someone out of your shit, though, where they're like trying to intrude.
And that was the thing. Dan O'Bannon was very open to ideas from people. Like the entire thing where, what is that character's name? I think. Oh, Frank. The scene where he actually like kisses his ring and puts himself in the crematory.
Right.
That was all his idea.
Oh, damn.
He was like, it would be really emotional because Frank's been talking about his wife this entire time. I got to call my wife.
Right.
Dinner's ready, if he would just kiss his ring and put it on the actual lever of the crematory and just send himself in there. And Dan O'Bannon's like, I'm not sure how I'm going to get that to connect to all this. And then he's like, check it out. You get a fucking dialogue between me and Freddie and just be like, I could run that fucking thing. And there you have it. Then he could fucking do it.
I mean, it was kind of odd to have it, but whatever. It didn't fit for me. I was watching it, I was like, this is kind of odd, but okay.
Yeah. So what did you guys initially think of the film though?
I laughed.
Yeah.
I laughed a lot at this movie. There's a lot of funny scenes. There's a lot of cool ideas brought up, and it's a big mishmash of different concepts and ideas. I like the 80s aesthetic also. Yep.
Hell yeah.
It's an interesting film because it breaks a lot of tropes that you usually see with films as far as like what would you do in a zombie apocalypse. And in this case, they mixed in older people with younger people too, so it's not just like a group of scientists or some soldiers or something like that. They were like so badly prepared for it. And so it was just funny to see them try to figure it out. But I mean, it was cringy because like the acting isn't all that great, and it's like very melodramatic watching it. So it's kind of like definitely intended to be funny. At some points, it was like a parody. They're also making fun of the military in it as well.
Yeah, super hard.
Yeah, they were like when he calls in the missile strike, and the young guy is like super ecstatic to be killing a bunch of people.
That's what I thought too. I was just like, dude, he's like, good morning, sir.
Right.
I'm ready to do my job, whatever you need.
Okay.
Yeah.
Oh,
Just launches a fucking nuke that kills like
excited.
5,000 people. Like
I can't wait to nuke an area. Like, gee,
he was
golly,
stoked
go.
about nuking that area.
Yeah, that dude was so excited. Like, oh my god.
Oh god, no, he's so funny. No, I remember I just watched it today, so no, that is super funny.
It was very interesting though, because I like how it starts off super. I think the pacing does this movie well. It doesn't stem too long on scenes that you don't need. Like, you get right to the point. Freddy's got a new job. They open up the dead with the canisters of a noxious agent or a noxious gas, which also fucking Bert or Frank says, typical army fuck up, as
Right.
The army's gonna fuck up a bunch in this movie. Let's just be real. And they get sick, and then they have to destroy the or what is it? They have to cut up the man that was resurrected in the bag, and they take it over to Ernie, and then he basically they have to explain to him, hey, these are rabid weasels, which like the boss in this scene, trying to like, oh, we can't call the cops, I don't want cops snooping around my business. And then fucking, oh, we can't call the army either. The army will just fucking fuck us up. And he was just like, I got my reputation on the line.
Right.
we gotta get rid of the evidence.
What did you guys think about the ending where it's just like, we're just gonna nuke the area, and then it ends up just making it worse?
Yeah, because when they cremate the zombie, the ashes go up into the air and come down as rain.
Yeah.
That's
and then
one of the coolest parts of these zombies is like that.
A little bit of weird science.
Yeah, exactly. Like you have the fact that it was released from an old zombie that was kept in a tank, and because it's so old that it like melted all over itself and like released its fumes into the air is pretty amazing. And then how like them like melting the one weird green guy made all of the undead come back, or made all the dead come back rather, is, I don't know, I just felt that was really original. That's a really different way of,
there's a big domino effect.
Yeah.
And then at the end of the movie, I mean, they're just like, oh yeah, the rain will just wash everything away. We don't have to worry about the fires.
That was great. And fucking, it like zooms down into the ground to see like, oh, well, they're making more rain and it's going to get worse. It's like the end of the Crazies. Like they quarantine a city and then they find out that people got out and they're going to have to quarantine another city.
Right.
Or a fucking Resident Evil where that's like the plot of the movie. They're going to nuke the area.
And I thought like it was pretty fucked up with the military captain as well. Like he
Yeah, he
goes
didn't
to
give a
his
fuck.
super nice house, and his wife's like, "I made your favorite
Yo, that guy
pork
was such a
chops,"
dick.
and he was just like, "I had them for lunch."
His wife's just trying to help him out, make some dinner, and he's just like, "Yep, nope, not eating it."
I have to be able to touch this fucking phone 24 hours a day because we need to know where those eggs went. I also,
Completely ignores her too when the phone rings, and she's like, "Yo, what's going on? Like, what's up?" And just doesn't say anything to her.
yeah, it's pretty crazy. We have to talk about the paramedic and cop scenes though.
Jesus Christ.
Basically, for throughout this movie, they used a really super punk soundtrack. What'd you guys think about that?
It's great. It's probably it's probably one of the better things of the movie, honestly.
Yeah. Yeah, the soundtrack is really great. I like how cheesy it is in some parts, and then I like how very fitting it is for the
Right.
tone. This is a comedy movie, so I'm expecting exaggeration. I'm expecting nothing to be taken too seriously.
Right.
I feel like it does the mix right with horror and comedy. Personally, I feel like it mixes them fine. I don't know.
It seemed heavier on the comedy side for me, not quite so serious. It's a fun movie to watch. It's good to watch again with friends. I don't know if I would be like, yeah, go watch this on your own, sober.
Yeah. I think it's just really funny how
Right.
the zombies go out of their way to just fucking call, like,
Yeah.
keep calling cops
Send
over and be like, hey,
more cops.
send more cops, send more paramedics. Like, they're just getting fucked up. And like, I think my favorite part of this movie is when the paramedics come in and Frank and Freddy are dying, and you can
Right.
see the blood boiling in their back, and they're taking their vitals, and they're like, well, you have no dilation, your skin is white, your temperature is 70 degrees, and you have no muscle response. And they're like, what does that mean? Well, you're dead. That's room temperature. You're dead.
Yeah, what the fuck?
They're just freaking out. It was fucking crazy to see a transition of a person become a zombie.
Right. We should transition over into Re-Animator because it's a different sort of style. Like it has to do with like bringing dead bodies back to life, but in such a different way, and it deals with like the ethics of digging up graves and like testing on bodies and stuff like that.
Yeah.
Plus, it's based off an H.P. Lovecraft story.
It is called the Herbert West The Re-Animator.
So when was the film made?
The Re-Animator was released in 1985 and directed by Stuart Gordon, who had his debut with this movie, as well as with producer Brian Yuzna. It is based off, like you said, the H.P. Lovecraft story, Herbert West Re-Animator, which, fun fact, H.P. Lovecraft did not enjoy writing those. He basically wrote this series of stories to get $5 to eat food.
Yeah. This is during the time where he was just like, I'm just trying to make a living.
Yeah. The movie was produced by Michael Avery, and the music and theme was performed by Richard Band. And that theme and fucking intro is super fucking great. It's just awesome.
Oh yeah, it's easily one of the most recognizable intros if you've seen a bunch of films, especially this one. This one also has like Return of the Living Dead, or not? What is it? Fuck.
Re-Animator.
I had it. The Return of the Living Dead. Like they are both like serious cult status films. Like people love these movies because of the visuals, the aesthetic that they created in them. And Re-Animator's the same way. Like there's so much artwork and alternate posters that have been made for this film.
You know, Re-Animator's filming style reminded me a lot of The Fly, the 50s version. 50s
Yeah.
one.
I agree. It definitely looked that way as well. It was made on the cheap too. Like this is under $1 million, which is in Hollywood movie making terms, that's pretty cheap.
$900,000 was the budget.
Right.
Which is fucking ludicrous to me.
For everything they had on set, movie. Yeah.
And then it grossed in $2 million at the box office.
Which is fucking good money.
Yeah, for real.
Not as much as you might see with some of the other ones, but off of a $900,000 budget, they did pretty well.
For their first movie too.
Yeah, also
That's
fucking
pretty good.
yeah, first movie.
Stuart Gordon was mostly a stage director. He would do a lot of things for plays.
Right.
So when he was performing the casting for this, he was finding people in plays, and everyone that was in the movie was, was in drama. The film stars Jeffrey Combs as the almighty Herbert West, and if you ask me, he steals every fucking scene he's in.
Yeah, pretty much. I agree.
Yeah, no, he's pretty great. I mean, having read the what do you call it? He's basically Lovecraft's version of Frankenstein.
Yes.
It's just that idea essentially. But I mean, I read the Re-Animator, Herbert West Re-Animator, in like high school, so like 12,000 years ago. But it's actually one of my favorite stories from him too, because it's just like his version of Frankenstein. I thought that was pretty cool. I was fascinated by that, and that the fact now that you're telling me this is one of his throwaways, where he was just like, I just need to eat, so I guess I'll write this. He's like, fuck it, Frankenstein. I'm just gonna do a cover of Frankenstein. Fucking pay me for it. And so he did, and it's pretty cool though. But it made this pretty interesting movie.
I believe that Jeffrey Combs had the right delivery for Herbert West.
Yeah.
Dude, yes.
How he's super analytical, talks to people like West, Herbert West. You're just like, oh, okay. We have Bruce Abbott as Dan Kane, who, in my opinion, is pretty hunky.
He fits that stereotype really well.
Yeah, he does. Barbara Crampton, Megan Halsey, basically the chick in every horror movie. She is in so many horror movies, dude.
She's been in a lot.
Yeah, her IMDb is stacked.
Yeah, although I do have to wonder how she feels about it, because she doesn't get a whole lot of talking time in most of them, and almost always needs help.
Almost always gets killed.
And or gets fucking killed and murdered, and you're like, oh, well, okay, that's the end of that character. You know what? I don't think either one of these films passes the Bechdel test now that I think about it.
And you want to go over that real quick?
Well, it's just a quick note that I made because, like, obviously these movies were not made to have women in the front. They were like side characters, and they either were used for nudity or just killing them. So it wasn't the best movies in those departments. So it's definitely heavily criticized for those for the way they portray women in both of the films.
Yeah.
True. This is the 80s, and sometimes when we view any sort of art, you can have a feminist criticism on it. You can also just be like, well, I appreciate how all of this gore that's going on in this movie, or I appreciate, just the mythology that they added. There's a lot of things you can take from like both of these films.
Oh yeah, definitely.
And I don't know. Yeah. I don't know.
Yeah. The thing is, like, when we talk about period pieces, I mean, 80s, 50s, and 20s, they're always going to be within that time. And the thing is, we could, the values and morals of people can change over time. I mean, we're looking at something that's over 40 years old.
Yeah, at this point now.
Yeah.
So I mean, I'm not gonna say, it was different back then, it's different now. I mean, it obviously really fucking should. It's 40 years. I would hope so.
Yeah, it's like 40, 45 years.
So the thing is, at this time, I mean, females were already, I mean, during the 80s, it was either A, put your top off, or B, get stabbed in these movies.
Yikes.
And that's how it is for a lot of the slasher films and just like movies with in the 80s for horror. And that's just sadly what the trope was. Whether we like to admit it or not, it was just, or even a combination of both. You're gonna have sex with this guy on screen, and then you're gonna get murdered 20 minutes later.
And you're gonna get murdered. Yeah, that's like the slasher shit, where if you had sex on screen, you're most likely gonna die.
Friday the 13th, fucking Halloween, like all that shit. Yeah,
definitely.
You're getting your dick chopped off too.
I think it was also sort of an homage to that.
David Gale as Dr. Carl Hill, who, fun fact trivia, his wife divorced him during production due to the decapitated scene where he rapes the Barbara Crampton.
Yeah, so what the fuck?
That was weird as shit.
I don't know. I really was like, why do we do
It's
this?
so fucking crazy. It's so weird.
It like
I don't know. I don't know
pretty
what
hard.
it is with 80s stuff. Strapping girls to tables and then licking their boobs. That's literally like what happens on that scene.
weird
and it's
80s aesthetic.
so many times, and it's always in the 80s that this exact sort of thing happens.
That shit was crazy to me though, because like he kind of alludes to him having a thing with for her in the beginning of the movie, where he's like, to your most beautiful daughter, who like is stunning and fucking like super smart or some shit like that, in front of his in front of like her dad, who is Robert Sampson, who plays Dean Allen Halsey.
Right.
So in front of Dean Halsey, he's like, to your daughter, who is like the most luscious and smart, beautiful woman on campus.
Yeah,
or some shit
this
like
was kind of fucked. I almost stopped watching it after that because I was like, what the fuck? Like, for some reason, I guess I had just blocked it out of my fucking head when I watched it before because I just was not prepared for that again. And watching it, I was like, oh man, this is really bad. Like, I do not approve.
Yeah, I mean, here's the thing: like these guys are all method actors. They all get within their
Oh,
fucking
God.
character. Not method actors, but they get into character super hard because they are practicing day by day by day, because that is what they were taught in theater.
I just want to know
So-
who wrote it and thought like, yo, this is a good idea. We should do this. Like, just for the
Dude,
shock factor.
Like, I don't think I've ever seen a decapitated head lick a nipple, dude. Like,
It's weird, dude.
I've seen like through this podcast and through like other fucking horror media, I've seen a lot of fucked up shit, but I've never seen a fucking headless dude lick a nipple, and that was a first.
It's just fucking.
It's like
What was
major. It's just big creep factor.
Yeah, it is.
That's really what it was to me. I wasn't like appalled by viewing it. You know what I mean? But I was also just kind of like, this is what like sexual creepy looks like. And then I was like, but also with a severed head, and it's kind of weird. Although I loved the whole idea of the severed head mind like telepathically controlling all the zombies. Like,
Yeah,
that was
something.
What
new.
a villain though. They had a pretty cool villain.
Yeah.
Wait, so his wife was actually like, "This is disgusting. I'm leaving you."
She was
Oh
like,
yeah.
oh yeah, he didn't even have a chance to talk to her because she already left.
Damn. So she was like, I don't know who you are. Like, why are you making this
Yeah.
shit? Like, I am leaving you, and just took all her shit and left. Damn. I
Yeah.
didn't know that. That's wild.
I mean, and that probably put some stress on him. But I mean, with Gordon and Yuzna, they strive to make the quote the bloodiest and most sexual movie ever to screen.
Oh man. It might be. Yeah, it's up there.
It's up there for sure. But for the bloodiest movie, I mean, they used over 24 gallons of fake blood
I
for
think
the entire show.
Brain Dead might have him beat.
Brain Dead might have him beat, but at the time, 24 is pretty high to beat.
Yeah. I'm trying to think of what else was like just an insanely bloody film. It might be well. There's Brain Dead, and then there was there was one other one. I'll tell you when I think of the name, but
For sure.
one of the most violent movies. Yeah, that's kind of wild. And they must have like had a terrible time on set trying to keep the cameras and shit like from getting blood on it.
Yeah, they had to wear a lot of trash bag suits.
Dang, just
And-
sweating.
One of the effects person, they even say, you know, my fucking main duty was to go to the meat market every day and just buy pounds upon pounds of bloodied beef and brains of cows, just to use it on set, because they used it in so many different scenes for just blood and guts.
Damn.
The movie initially was released in theaters as an unrated cut, but it was later re-released for home VHS. Sorry, not DVD, as a rated R. So,
DVDs did not exist.
Yeah, it's either blue, it's either Nerf or nothing, dog.
Wow.
Just kidding.
Wow. When the fuck was Nerf invented?
I don't fucking know. But the main theme is a direct homage to the Psycho theme from Alfred Hitchcock.
Oh, that's
And
why it sounds so familiar.
right. And the sequence that follows is a direct reference to Vertigo by Hitchcock as well.
Yo, first Nerf blasters emerged in the late 1980s.
Okay.
You're not off brand. You're actually on brand by saying that.
Jesus Christ.
That's fucking hilarious. Sorry, go ahead.
What was Nerf's slogan back then, though?
I don't know if they had a slogan. Maybe they did.
Must have.
80s had a slogan for everything, dog.
Dog. It was either it's Nerf or nothing or accept no substitutes.
That's
Damn.
horrible. That's
Damn.
horrible.
Yeah, this is
Sure.
where you can get your horror film fucking facts and also your Nerf facts.
Yeah.
Now it's official. We gotta sell a Nerf gun on our website.
True.
We'll get
make
that
our
like
own.
zombie shotgun version. You know what I'm talking about.
Yeah,
we
we're gonna get the double-barreled fucking
Yeah,
demon
exactly.
slayer.
Oh yeah. Anyway.
So according to the director, the security guard, how he always goes on his coffee breaks, he actually goes to masturbate.
Wow.
But it's like it didn't need to be in the film. In all honesty, like okay, him talking to the cameras and saying that in like a director's cut, like, is it really necessary? Like, I didn't need to know that this dude was beating his meat while meat was getting beaten behind that door.
I really love that this is what bothered you, Mer. Of all the
I
things
know,
that
right?
happened in the film, you're like, I don't need to know about this guy beating his meat after fucking seeing a rape.
Yeah.
Like, come
Yeah,
on,
yeah.
Mer.
I mean, okay, here's the thing. I'm a big
You're a
special
big boy.
effects
I
guy.
think you could handle some penis.
Oh, yeah.
That's exactly what it sounds like.
Oh man. Oh Jesus Christ. All right, John. All right. I can't believe. I feel betrayed. I feel.
Top 10 anime betrayals
Yeah.
right there.
Exactly.
You're a big boy. You can handle some penis. God fucking damn it.
I hope you know I'm keeping all of this in here.
Quarantine is killing us, ladies and gentlemen.
Oh, man.
Yeah.
Look at what it's doing.
Sorry, what the fuck were you talking about?
So sure before.
Just a little bit more on the special effects. The juice that Herbert West used is actually glow stick juice. Over 900 sticks were used, which was a lot, and it was pretty intense. Other than that, the biggest trouble with the movie was trying to get the third act because, again, David Gale is working with a decapitated head for the third half of the movie, and actually like trying to control a decapitated head that's being held, as well as a body that's headless.
Yeah.
Also, sadly, the cat in the fridge is a real cat.
Oh, animals were harmed in the making of this film.
It was already
were.
dead.
So
Right,
what?
right.
I don't know, they just found a dead cat?
They bought a dead cat, just like in the Return of the Living Dead. They were buying dead bodies to use for something.
This is true cult filmmaking.
Even cult filmmaking goes so far as to use dead cats.
Yep.
So last fun fact, David Bowie, who worked with the director of photography, told the director of photography in person, Re-Animator is my favorite movie. Like, that's what he said.
What? I do not believe it.
I mean, I can't believe it either, but he was like, I love Re-Animator, I love the work he did, and Re-Animator is my favorite movie.
Oh, interesting.
The movie is pretty fucking great, though. I mean, from I gotta say the pacing starts really well, and then it kind of loses you at the third half.
Yeah,
Like-
it starts getting kind of wild, and then you're like, where is this going? I need this to
Like-
have some resolution.
Like it starts off really well. You see fucking Herbert West working on Dr. Gruber in what was it? Sweden? Right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
And they're like, "You killed him," and he's like, "No, I gave him life." And then it starts the intro credit. It's super intense, and then we're introduced to Arkham, and we see that one of our main characters can't save someone with resuscitation. So then Herbert West gets to meet the fucking director, and it's so funny because he's like, "You basically fucking plagiarized my professor's work, and you are now my teacher. So fuck you."
Wow.
It's funny because he's like, "It's a 6 to 12 minute time period." No, he's just like, "No, stop! You're telling people lies." That he's like trying to explain to him that there's a 6 to 12 minute time period, that there is a will to live within inside the brain. And Herbert West is like, "That is complete utter bullshit, dude. Like, stop talking out your ass." Like, he's breaking the pencil in class and everything. It's pretty fun. And then Herbert West eventually becomes his roommate. And that's where shit kind of goes down.
Right. That's when he starts showing people that he can bring things back to life, and everyone is horrified.
Yeah, they start with the cat. I forget, Rufus is his name.
Yeah.
I mean, he finds, quote unquote, the dead cat that was already dead, and they find it in his fridge, and he's really upset about them going in his room.
Yeah, for real.
I paid for privacy. What is this? Just like, it was pretty interesting. And then eventually, I mean, they do finally resurrect a human being, and it's the ripped dude. He's so ripped that he tears down a door and kills the dean, splatting on him, dude.
Yep. Kills
like
the father of the girlfriend.
It's just reminded me of like a caveman from a Boomerang cartoon, dude. Just
Yikes.
Yeah,
just jumping on that shit, breaking bones.
Scary jacked guy.
Yeah. And then I gotta say, they have the best kill on camera was when Herbert West gets the bone saw and goes straight through the heart.
Yeah, that was pretty great. I did love that. I mean, that was probably one of the crazier kills in this movie also.
Yeah, definitely.
I think runner up is probably the shovel kill.
Oh, fuck.
Yeah.
I forgot about that.
Where he just like hits him over the head and uses the shovel as a knife to just completely decapitate him.
Yeah. But he also creates the villain of the whole movie.
Who steals his work and wants to resurrect it and make himself famous.
And then like the body cavity like turns into a portal to somewhere and sucks Herbert West into it. Like, I mean, what the fuck, dude?
See, the third act of this, okay, it starts really well. The whole movie has this great pacing and great acting and like a good story, and you're like, where the fuck is this going? And then Herbert West creates the villain. The villain has a weird, unclear motive. He's obsessed with the woman. He has like a file of like used napkins and hair clippings, which is like super fucking creepy. He wants to be with her, and he wants to like become famous or some shit. And then he resurrects a dead army that like fights against the father, who is also a zombie but has lost his mind. And it's like super weird and intense. And then Herbert West throws his notes and his materials, like, save my notes. And he gets sucked into that portal dimension. And she's like, what the fuck?
Yeah.
They deal with the naked dead guy that's rushing at them. And then the main female lead gets killed.
Yep.
Yep. Yeah, per usual for these films.
Until she's not. Until the dude literally was like, you know what? I have this fucking serum. And then the movie ends with him injecting the serum into his girlfriend. And the theme starts again, and shit's just about to get crazy.
Yeah, it's how they end all the film. They're similar in that way when they end, because it's not the end of that story.
Yeah, it's like the end, or is it
Right.
sort of
Yeah,
thing.
they're pretty bold for both of these movies having not so happy endings. I mean, more of Return of the Living Dead, I think, has a super bleak ending. An entire city block is nuked. And like at some points when we were talking about this COVID-19 shit, I was like, what's stopping America from doing that? You know? To be like, this entire
Nothing.
area is quarantined, nuke it,
Yeah.
And same with um Re-Animator. Like it leaves room for more. And that's why the Bride Re-Animator and the Re-Animator Returns, I believe, came out later.
Yeah, like much later.
Yeah, and that's also the second movie, Bride of Re-Animator, has Bruce Abbott retaining the role as Dan Kane, and Jeffrey Combs also retaining it as Herbert West. Which, in all honesty, um, Combs basically just carries the franchise at this point.
Mm-hmm.
He's the person on the posters. He has all the best lines, the best line delivery. He is just the poster child for the Re-Animator series. Always talking at conventions and everything. So, what did you guys think about the movie though? I mean, did you enjoy it? What were some ups and downs? I mean,
I like the way that the main actor was in the movie. He did his role really well, and he was able to fit that. Like, no, he wasn't a crazy scientist, but he was definitely really focusing on what he was doing, and pretty much had no social skills, which was hilarious to me. So like watching it, he just couldn't interact with some people because they were like, yo, this is wrong, and he's like, what? No, this is science. And they would get really offended by that. So he was just playing that character really well. Obviously some scenes in it are problematic, so it was kind of tough to watch in that respect, but it definitely has its cult status for a reason, and it's a well made movie. Like, for the budget that they were on putting it all together, I do wish that the story was a little more clean towards the end, like one, instead of just kind of going off, because you're right, it did start really well and it was well paced, and you were kind of getting things in a good um, in an interesting way, as opposed to like kind of losing its focus in the middle of the film and then just going off and deciding to do like shock factor stuff.
right,
But
right,
it's like, yeah, you gotta watch it at least once.
yeah. Mitch,
I mean, I really like Re-Animator. I knew it was coming to me, so I already sprung on it. So I really enjoyed Re-Animator. I liked the its sort of like adaptation of H.P. Lovecraft's story, and I actually liked the source material. I like the source material more than this because
Right.
I don't remember any of the weird scenes, which didn't bother me as much. I just figured this is just the '80s being the '80s. And I've seen a lot of movies similarly that treat it that way, but I think you've got treated similarly. But I think that you've got a interesting dichotomy of these two films in which nudity is used for different reasons.
yeah,
Whereas you have one where it's sort of like a sexualization sort of idea with the character that doesn't really do much, and both of them are basically like they don't really do too much in both of the movies, both of the female roles. But I would say that you have more of like I guess you've got like I would say there's like sexual freedom expression in Return of the Living Dead, more so in like the whole dance and whatnot, more so than there is in like the super creepy, like rapey thing that goes on in Re-Animator, if we're discussing those parts.
Yeah, that's
yeah.
true.
Yeah. So I feel like you could argue one is a bit more progressive, quote unquote, than the other. But did that really also matter at the terms? This was just like, oh, creepiness captures he's into the like the young girl, old man into young girl sort of creepiness. So it's playing with that sort of horror, I guess. But I don't know. I relatively enjoyed them though for the stories that they both told. I enjoyed this one a lot for the story that it told, more so
For
what I
sure.
mean.
Lewis, did you have any thoughts on either of the films?
I'd say a Re-Animator was a bit. I enjoyed it a bit more than the other one. I mean, the other one, Return of the Living Dead, I enjoyed it more for its comedy. But like Re-Animator definitely like tried to focus more on its creepiness, especially with the main character's lack of social skills and really trying to be in his fucking insane idea.
Yeah. Hell yeah. I'd say I thought Return of the Living Dead was a really good blend of comedy and horror. Every time I watch it, it's just a blast. It's one of those movies I turn my brain off for. Um, I agree with Mitch where the nudity dance was actually like a little bit of a progressive thing. The girl's just feeling herself, you know. She's just feeling
she's
herself,
surrounded.
and
She just went on like a whole edgy bullshit thing about how she wants to be killed in like some sort of way, and she has like this whole erotic focus over it. And then she goes to a fucking graveyard, and then she gets naked in the grave. That's just in character, if you ask me.
yeah, I I agree. I think she was just like in character, like just feeling herself, and the actress had no problem with it.
And I mean, people like naked women. I'm just gonna say that, man. The people like naked women. It's just the way that it is. So if you can have a naked girl in a movie, you're gonna get viewership from it. It's just the world we live in. We are simple creatures.
Yeah.
As humans.
I agree with that. Re-Animator I like a little bit differently. It's one of those movies where I like the idea of a student who's going rogue, you know, having a lab in his own thing. Fucking a giant lack of social skills and social cues, but he doesn't give a shit. He is just, you know, he's in his own lane, doing what he thinks is right. And I love how people are like, yo, you killed this person. This person's dead. And he's like, I must experiment on them. They are fresh. We don't have much time. Like, we have to do this now. Like, he's like overlooking the fact that they're humans and just being like, my work comes first.
Oh, yeah, totally.
And I like that about the movie. I like that he kills the professor because he's literally trying to just plagiarize him just like he did his old professor. Like, you fucking plagiarist, how could you? I'm gonna fucking kill you. And proceeds to do so. And I think Herbert West, with his eyes and how he portrays the character, Combs does. It's the highlight of the movie for me. The ending is very lackluster in the fact that it just loses focus.
Yeah.
But I could probably say if I were to see the other two movies, maybe it would clear it up a little bit more, but I haven't seen them yet, so so we have our friend Lewis here who also worked at a crematory for a short period of time, right?
Yeah, about like 4 years.
Oh, not a short period, a good amount of time.
How did you end up working there?
Well, my family owns it.
Oh shit.
So
Oh my god, that's so weird.
ever since I was little, my dad worked at the what's it called? I don't know if you guys know the Greenwood Mortuary in where is it exactly? It's on Imperial.
I have no idea, but he was working there while you were super small.
Yeah, he was just like a maintenance guy, but you know, I'd be there all the time, and that was kind of weird. And
Were you surrounded by dead bodies?
not like actually exposed to them. Like he wasn't like an embalmer or anything. I wouldn't be like anywhere near them like that. But you know, since he had connections in that industry, he moved up to LA and started his own crematory, where they work with mortuaries who actually like take in the bodies, and they started off as a crematory and a removal service, meaning like they would drive around. It's what you think of when you think of like a hearse, except you know they would just drive around vans, and that's how They all get transported.
Interesting.
So pick
That's
up dead people for mortuaries and then burn them.
so were you a part of the burning crew or the driving crew?
Both.
Oh,
I did everything.
so when you were dealing with the dead bodies, did it ever like at first was it creeping you out, or was it just like something you just like were like, okay, I'm gonna do this, let's do it, you know?
I did have certain feelings about it at first. They weren't really like that. I wasn't too creeped out. Felt a bit more, I guess, just a bit more like existential. Like kind of when I would like go home and think about it.
Right.
You're like, fuck death, man. That's crazy.
Yeah.
My life could end. Mortality, man. What is it even?
Right.
Did you listen to music while you were prepping bodies for the crematory process?
Oh, tons, all the time.
What kind of music did you yourself personally listen to?
Merciful Fate a lot.
Hell yeah.
I thought it just fit.
That's fucking crazy, dude. We got an edgy boy over here.
Oh god.
That's fucking tight though. In the movie Return of the Living Dead, Ernie goes over the process of rigor mortis. So you didn't have to deal with any of that, did you?
No. Since they've been dead for like, over 24 hours. I mean, sometimes when we would pick people up in their homes, like they would still be a little stiff, but like, it starts to wear off. Like when we pick them up at hospitals, I mean, they've already been dead for like at least a day.
Right. Do you know what rigor mortis is?
Yeah.
Can you go over that process with the people listening?
So, I don't know the technicalities of it, but rigor mortis is basically like as soon as you die, your muscles start to stiffen up because you can't. all of the fluids in your body just kind of sink. I don't know exactly why you get stuck, like your limbs and everything, but it starts to kind of like wear off, like within a few hours to like a day.
For sure. Okay.
I deal with it really.
Yeah, you didn't really have to deal with it too much because you're kind of having a day in between, yeah, from the time of death, you know.
Right.
They also in the movie refer to the heart as being the hardest muscle to burn. Is that true?
That is true.
Oh my god, what? Damn.
Yeah.
That's crazy.
What? I thought that was just a throwaway line.
No, it's true. There's some factual shit in these movies.
So,
it gets points just for that.
Well, you've cooked a steak, haven't you?
Oh
yeah,
shit!
Hey, you have to cook it all the way through. Yeah, I got you.
Oh dang!
The fat just kind of melts, and like whenever if we burn like a fat person or someone that just has mostly fat,
Yeah.
they burn really fast.
Oh shit!
Because that's all just fuel.
Yeah.
Jesus.
All the things that take the longest are the muscles.
That's wild. Wait, so is the smell as bad as I think it is?
No, smells exactly like you'd throw a steak on a barbecue.
Oh my god!
My god!
Oh, shit!
Oh, I was not expecting that. Okay.
Oh my god!
Then what the fuck am I smelling every time I go by some of these places? Are they just like adding shit into it, or like because it smells awful sometimes?
Oh yeah, the dead bodies themselves smell terrible.
That's so weird. Okay, that's funny as hell. I didn't know that.
Lewis, have you ever handled any interesting or notable corpses?
We got Stan Lee once.
Whoa.
Get him multiple times.
I mean, yeah, you got Stan Lee one time. So you saw Stan Lee's naked body and put him into a furnace.
Yep.
You looked at it. You looked at Stan Lee's
God.
naked old body and threw him into a furnace.
Yo.
Yes.
Yo.
And
Yo.
we also got some I don't know her name. There was some like, I remember it was a big deal on TV for a little while. It was some female wrestler or something. And
I don't know if any wrestlers that died recently. Shit.
right, yeah, it was a few years ago. Like, I think she overdosed on something, or I don't know.
Oh damn.
Yeah. Oh, and we also got Elliot Rodger.
Oh shit.
I don't know who that is. Who is that again?
Yeah, I forget exactly what he did. He's some kind of like mass shooter guy. He was posting a bunch of videos on the internet of how women don't like him or something dumb.
Oh, you wait. Oh, is it?
Oh my god, it's that guy.
Okay, yeah, Elliot Rodger, dude, who is like the incel from hell.
Right. Yo. So
Yeah, dude, that was fucked
so
up.
this leads me to my next question. Did you punch the corpse? No.
Yeah,
Have
the
you ever
misogynist killer.
Were you ever mean to a body? Were you ever like, fuck you, you stupid fucking body, and then like, or you like, you ever see like an old relative come rolling through or anything like
man.
that?
Oh God. What do you mean?
You ever see like a relative of a friend or one of your relatives come rolling through? Like, have to burn your own. Oh God.
Oh God. No.
Okay, so here's the thing. With everyone having jobs, people have bad days. What were the bad days like at this job?
Probably like some of the removals, like, because we were on a tight time schedule. Like, we had to pick up a lot of bodies, and we'd just get like, either something dumb would happen. We'd get like stuck in traffic, or maybe like a big hospital is like just hard to deal with. Like, they don't let you in where you need to go.
Right. You have to deal with the front desk and all that.
Yeah.
And I was wondering,
And families.
with that being said about the bad days, what were some of the highlights or the good days that you would have, I guess? It's a very interesting job. So, I mean, I want to know what days, like, yeah, you know what? Today wasn't bad, Mom. Today was fine.
Well, it was a really easy job. Like, you just sit around.
Right.
It was only, it could be kind of stressful, like during the day, just dealing with like families, because you have to be extra, they're dealing with like a death of a loved one or something. So, except some people were kind of crazy. Like, I remember these two real old ladies came in, and I think it was like one of their husbands or their brother that died. And they wanted to come and yank out his gold teeth.
Holy
And they
shit.
their own pliers, and we're over there like trying to yank them out. I was like, oh my God.
Wait,
That's
so
horrible.
are they allowed to do that?
Yeah.
Like, because they are like, I don't know what the word is, but they basically are responsible for the body. So like, can they just rip teeth out? I didn't know that.
Yeah. I mean,
Yo, wait. So, did they say why though? Like, was it just for the gold, or were they like, we need some keepsakes? Like,
they didn't say why, and we didn't ask. we had the feeling it was just for the gold.
right? Yo, that's wild. Just how old were they?
really old. Like
Oh, jeez.
they're obviously old looking.
That's so funny. Oh my
Yeah.
That's
god.
horrible.
Wait, so on average, how long does it take to burn a body?
2 hours.
And that's like how
Wow.
hot?
Each burner, there's 2 burners, and each burner is like about 2,600 degrees.
Shit.
So the crematory oven that they used in Return of the Living Dead
Yeah.
made me mad.
It made me mad. It looks like it wouldn't work.
No.
What'd you-
Charred dead body.
Yeah, I mean, like, it's funny because he's removing the like ashes or whatever, trying to make them go through. I mean, did you have to deal with that kind of stuff too? Was that a thing? Or it's like all on the top or whatever?
What-
Trying to sift it through like the little grate.
What we do is like there's a little hole closer to the entrance of the oven,
Right.
and we just use like this paddle to scrape it all down there, and it falls into like a little pan, and then we can take the pan and pour it in.
jar.
We pour it into a blender because the bones are still in like big chunks.
Oh.
Yo, what? So it doesn't get absolutely everything. It just like there's bits and pieces of the bone that you gotta like grind up.
Yeah.
What? I didn't know this. See, I didn't know this shit about like how the whole process goes. 2 hours though? That's a long
crazy.
fucking time, I feel like.
Yeah.
That's a pretty
How many
like
burners would you guys have? Just one?
We had 2 ovens.
that's wild.
Wow.
That means at most you're burning like 8 bodies in an 8-hour shift.
Yeah, that's if you just did it back to back.
That's a slow ass day. My
Yeah.
mom said like you're not doing much.
Yeah.
Like it doesn't seem like it anyway.
Yeah.
I
night
feel like
shift?
I would just stop and like end up looking inside if I could.
Yeah, you can. Halfway through, we have to reposition the body.
Oh shit.
Oh, okay.
Oh god.
Yeah, so we open the door a little, and I take the paddle thing that we use to scrape the.
Oh
the
my god.
How did it feel when you put 4 Stan Lee into the oven? And then you had to open it and then be like, all right, let's cook the other side now.
Let's cook the other side. That's so morbid.
Oh, I got the Lord of Comic Books in my oven right now.
Yeah, you've got all of them in the oven. You could
Hey.
or something, but no, we lit them on fire.
Rest in peace. Rest in peace to the legend, though.
Holy
Yeah,
shit,
that's
dude.
the legend.
That's wild. I didn't know that. Fucking shit.
I guess I really don't have too many more questions, but I was wondering what was the grossest thing you had to deal with. I mean, did you have to deal with like when you picked up bodies? Did you have to deal with the defecation? That's a thing, right?
Yes. Well,
It's
it's mostly. I mean, people don't like shit themselves when they die or something, but depending on how long a body is just sitting there, I mean, fluids are gonna leak out.
Oh, dang.
Some people, like sometimes people will, they won't be found dead for weeks until like
Oh,
the
my God.
neighbors in your apartment complex start smelling the body.
Right.
So,
oh,
like, they-
man. So did you have to
Living.
wear like mask, gloves, like all that, like whole getup?
No.
That's-
you're a fucking savage, Lewis.
Yo, how did you deal with the smell? Were you just like used to it?
Yeah.
Oh,
I mean, you just
what?
kind of have to get over it.
That's crazy. I would have been like, I demand a mask, like something.
Yeah, at least a fucking respirator.
Yeah, holy shit, dude. What? Okay, damn. That's
That's
hardcore.
How did you feel about the cremating scene in Return of the Living Dead where a guy cremates himself?
Right.
I mean, you working personally in a crematory, you know how hot that shit is. How'd you feel
I
watching
don't think
that?
it's possible.
Man,
You felt what?
be terrible.
Yeah.
I used to imagine sometimes like what would it be like to like just even when the oven is off, like imagine just crawling in there and just everything being hot. Imagine you just taking a breath
Yeah.
inside and like the air that you're breathing is over 500 degrees.
Yeah, it's like in the thousands. Like, I feel like you would just get scorched and then you wouldn't feel anything anymore. Like it just burn your nerve endings at some point.
Right.
That's
Yeah,
crazy.
probably.
Yeah, well, I mean, because that's what happens with burn victims. Like, it's almost better to get certain kinds of burns because you just don't feel it.
Oh, dang.
Because it burns through like the nerve endings on your skin, but it's like not repairable. Like you'll just lose feeling to that area. Yeah, it's nuts. Like there's some crazy stuff on that. I figured the oven in the movie wouldn't really work all that well, but it was definitely just for the aesthetics.
Right.
Which it worked well for.
See the fire and all that.
Right, it had like the big ass like flames that were kind of just being pushed into the little area there, so it was interesting.
And then I think we shot a movie once in the crematory also, where they like I forget what it was called.
Yo, we need to find out what that is.
Yeah, I could ask my brother and he'll.
Hell yeah. We will update everyone when we find out.
Yeah.
But I feel like that's like a cool thing to just kind of be like, hey, there was a movie shot here too.
Right. And
would you ever do that line of work again?
Yeah.
Easy
definitely.
enough.
It's a very easy job, especially if you get the night shift. You just stick some people in the oven and go and do whatever you want for
Nice.
for at
Just
least
make
like
yeah, just remember to flip over your burger, I guess, right?
Yeah.
Fucking watches Night of the Living Dead.
Now, did you one of my last I guess I have two more. What was the compensation like? What were you getting? What were you making, if you're cool with answering that?
Well, it was a family business, so it was just kind of like they would pay me like how. So this is not reflective of the industry or what you would get paid as a actual like crematory operator. I would just be given like $100 a night.
Cool.
I mean, shit.
Did you know how much the other people would be making within your field if you weren't in a family business?
I don't know
for sure. $100 a night. I mean, you probably worked a lot of night shifts, I'm guessing.
Yeah, like I think most of the time we had enough people working that we can take like a weekend off every week.
Nice. I guess my last question for me anyways is our entire episode had to deal with resurrection and just like zombies. So did you ever have to deal with the body that came back? They actually they were pronounced dead, but now they're conscious and awake.
No.
Right. Because I mean, you hear some stories about that where it's like, okay, this person is legally dead.
That would probably happen more with the coroner.
Okay.
Because they're most likely to get that body the quickest. It won't go to like a morgue or a crematory that quickly.
Right.
But that'd be funny as hell though.
Yeah.
Like you've been fake dead this whole time, you fucking madman.
Yeah. Wakes up, just jumps out of the oven. What the fuck?
Kinda.
Just sees Lewis there chilling, listening to Merciful Fate.
Yo, that's crazy. Well,
so yeah, that was basically all my questions.
Yeah.
But what the bodies do sometimes is they'll like
twitch.
Yeah, like since gases are coming out, like it'll sound like they're groaning.
Oh my god.
Every once in a while, or like I remember like one or two times, either their arm, like an arm will just like fly up, or
that's terrifying.
I've just been amazement, and then I'm like, shit, so your life's a little horror movie at work, just ring, and you're like, oh, god damn it, dead guy. Oh.
Does it stay stuck, or does it like go back down?
It goes back down.
That's wild.
Did Stanley twitch?
Oh,
No.
How twitchy was Mr. Lee?
Oh my god.
I know you would just remember this.
None that I know of.
Yeah, okay. All right, so you saw no twitching from that man. He slept.
Oh man. Well, we have gotten to just about the end of the podcast episode.
Yeah, at the end of the whole podcast.
I had to think about it
Just ending on
for a
that.
second.
Right at the end of
Yeah.
the podcast.
It's time to go. Bye, guys. Peace.
Well, shit.
God damn it, Mitch. Now I have to cut this whole shit out.
Why?
Oh, man. Did you guys have any final thoughts before I let everybody go?
My ratings on these two movies.
Yeah, what would you guys rate
I
it?
give them both 7s.
I give them both 6s.
I give them both 9. No, wait. Let's give Re-Animator an 8. Let's give Return of the Living Dead a 9.
Oh, dang.
I really like those movies.
Scale of 1 to 10, 10 being the best. How do you feel about these two movies?
6s. Maybe I'd consider giving Re-Animator a 7.
Yeah.
They were all right. They're okay.
Yeah, I'm gonna keep them the same number just because they both have two different feelings. It's whatever your mood.
Yeah, I really do.
I like Return of the Living Dead more as a comedy with some great horror elements and basically the precursor to a lot of zombie tropes. And then
Yeah.
I like Re-Animator because fucking Herbert West steals the show.
Yep, exactly. All right. Well, then, before I let everybody go, I just want to remind everyone we're super easy to find in all of the streaming services. We're available on all of the main ones, so Apple Podcasts, Spotify, Google Podcasts, or pretty much anywhere that you stream podcasts, you can find us. All the episodes will be up in the next few weeks on YouTube as well, if you only ever go on YouTube. And then you can visit us at our website, which is bdtghpodcast.com. You can listen to the episodes there, or you can go to any one of the social media sites to leave some comments and see the content that we're posting there. So we have our Facebook, our Instagram, and our Twitter, all at bdtgh_podcast. And if you could, please leave a review at the Apple Podcast. Gives us a better rating, and we're more easily seen on the website. But I want to say thanks to Lewis for talking to us about his work at the crematory, and thank you guys for coming together on fucking Skype to talk about these two movies remotely because we're still doing our quarantine episodes. But I hope everyone has a good night.
I'm Mitch.
I'm Murr.
I'm Jonathan. Thank you so much.
I'm Lewis.
I'm Lewis.
Thank you.
Hey, you could add that in there, John.
Oh, I'm going to leave that.
Hey.
Cool.